The movie starts with Mindy's monologue, where she shares the story of her father, Kane. Kane was once a highly honored pilot in the Earth's military. However, a single mistake he made resulted in a tragic accident that took the lives of his entire crew. He faced accusations of negligence and drug use, even though there was no concrete proof. Eventually, he was pardoned, but the incident left a lasting mark on him. Kane struggled to overcome his guilt, which ultimately led to the breakdown of his marriage. Seeking a fresh start, he took a job at Exor, a terraforming company, and relocated to a new planet. A few years later, India came to visit him on this distant planet. As Kane guided her around, they found themselves in a heated argument about why he was reluctant to return to Earth. Kane explained his vision of creating a new civilization from the ground up, but India wasn't convinced. She believed he was simply trying to escape from his unresolved issues. Their journey together continued until they reached the capital city. Cyrus and Kane escort India to her apartment and inform her that they'll meet again in a week because Kane must return to the flotilla. The flotilla is a massive ship owned by Exor, hovering above the planet. Kane works at his office there during the weekdays. This new planet operates without a formal government, and they prefer it that way. Although they are technically subject to the regulations of the United Earth government, they tend to go their own way. During the night, we receive a report from a prison guard, indicating that the prison has been breached and the creatures inside have escaped. We don't see the alien-like monsters, but we can hear them roaring and moving through the fields. The following morning, Kane awakens in his dorm, and an air quarterback plays a message for him. He has a message from his ex-wife, which he decides to disregard. Additionally, he receives a message from Indy, who seeks his approval to visit a specific landmark. She also informs him that her mom is dating a man named Todd. However, just as her message is about to continue, it abruptly gets cut off. A voice, likely traffic, notifies Kane that communications have been temporarily disrupted. When Kane inquires about when the communications will be restored, traffic responds that he doesn't have that information. Meanwhile, General Line X, who commands the XOR fleet, summons Colonel Michael to discuss the events of the previous night. Michael suggests coming clean and saving as many lives as possible. However, Line X warns that admitting guilt could lead to prosecution for genocide. Line X then assembles all the commanders, including Kin, and shares the news that the prisoners have broken out and possess a deadly virus that, if released, could wipe out everyone on the planet. She informs them that she's negotiating with the prisoners and instructs them to await her next order. Kim rushes back to his room, feeling alarmed, while Telstra tries to get in touch with Indy. Unfortunately, they are informed that the connection is still down. Michael enters Kane's room and decides to share the entire truth with him. He discloses that 5 years ago, Exor established a facility inside the prison where they bred a creature known as Arrogant. Their sinister plan was to contain these beasts until they had a sufficient number of them, then ship them to new planets with the intention of exterminating the native species. Michael informs Kane that the Ragged, these beasts, have broken out and are now advancing toward Cyrus, the capital. What's more, he reveals that General Line X has decided to detonate the nuclear reactor in the city, essentially wiping out everything within 24 hours. She plans to do this so that she can conveniently blame the catastrophe on the prisoners and move forward with her agenda. Michael discloses all of this to Kane in the hope that he can rescue his daughter before the city is destroyed. He then urgently informs Kane that the ship will be locked down in just 20 minutes. Kane steals a ship and heads for the planet, pursued by another fighter pilot sent by Line X. He manages to evade a captor, though his ship is damaged in the process. Upon landing in a nearby lake, he's unexpectedly knocked unconscious by a man named Sai. Sai pulls Kane out of the water, points his weapon, and waits for Kane to regain consciousness. When Kane awakens, he's confused and starts questioning Sai about his identity and why he's there. Initially, Kane pretends not to know much and mentions the prisoners having a virus. Sarah, with Sai, reveals to Kane that he's one of the prisoners and provides grim details about the harsh conditions on the ragged side. She explains that everyone in the prison is dead and the same fate awaits others. In response, Kane opens up about his daughter and pleads with Sai for assistance in reaching Cyrus to see her. At first, Sai was hesitant to help, but he agrees when Kane reveals that he has access to a military raid bunker that can protect them from the beasts. In a flashback, we are taken to the day before, where we see Kane in the prison cafe discussing an escape plan with his friends, including Troll. Prisoners on the planet are treated as slaves and have no human rights, making their chances of dying before getting free quite high. However, SCI has devised a plan to break out of the prison. He has another prisoner named Kamal pick a fight with a guard and steal his car. They then hide the car in solitary confinement, so when they're ready to escape, they can use the car to make their getaway. Sivan, another prisoner, stands up and initiates a fight with a member of a rival gang, sparking a small riot in the cafe. The warden and his guards rush to the scene, and everyone braces for a confrontation. The warden surprises everyone by instructing them to continue the fight and orders his guards to stand down, with the condition that the other prisoners merely observe and not intervene. The fight initially goes well for Sai, but he eventually starts losing and gets badly beaten. The other prisoner begins to choke him. In a desperate move, Charles retrieves a knife and stabs the opponent in the neck, killing him. This escalates into a massive brawl among all the prisoners, leading to their confinement in solitary cells. There, they endure brutal torture through a continuously rotating tube accompanied by flashing lights, depriving them of sleep and rest. The warden later retrieves them from solitary confinement and takes them to the lab within the prison. He introduces the Ragged, explaining that the creature can transform humans into its kind by awakening their inner monsters. The group faces an attack from the Ragged, witnessing a transformation process similar to a human turning into a zombie. Just as the warden prepares for his transformation, his cage unexpectedly opens, causing him to plummet to the floor below. Charles, who has managed to break free from solitary confinement using the card, has also unleashed a Ragged, allowing them to take on the guards. Chaos ensues as the Ragged attack the guards and the prisoners retaliate, ultimately killing the warden. Back in the prison, Kanan and Sai make their way to a secret bar to secure samples and find a vehicle. They notice an armored bus parked outside and ask the bartender about its owner, who points to Billy and her drugged-up partner playing a dark game involving a knife. Despite the bartender's warning not to disturb them, Kane approaches them for a conversation. Kane interrupts their game to inquire about their bus, which agitates Jeep, leading him to place a knife against Kane's neck. The situation intensifies as they threaten to kill him. However, Sai steps in and negotiates with them, explaining Kane's desperate mission to rescue his daughter and offering them $20,000 for their assistance. The couple agrees to drive them. Their first stop is at a weapons dealer where they stock up on ammunition, purchasing multiple assault rifles and grenades for $30,000. They continue their journey while driving, and Kane informs them about the Ragged and the impending explosion. He also agrees to provide them shelter in his bunker if they help him in his quest to retrieve his daughter. The narrative then shifts to a flashback from 2 years ago, returning to Earth, where C receives news from his lawyer that he might be sent to a new planet as an example, along with 2 other individuals. We learn the reason why Sai was arrested in the first place. He used to work as a nurse in a large hospital, and one night, while on the night shift, he's informed that a drunk driver had crashed into 2 people, resulting in 1 fatality. Sai rushes to the emergency room to assist the surviving woman, only to be shocked to discover that she is his own wife. He watches helplessly as she succumbs to her injuries and is held outside while other doctors try to save her. Desperately seeking information about his daughter, Sai realizes that the other deceased person is his daughter. Filled with anger and grief, he goes to the room of the drunk driver, who sustained only minor injuries, and violently assaults him, eventually choking him to death. This violent act led to his arrest. Returning to the present, the crew arrives in Cyrus in the morning and is abruptly woken up by a ragged attacking their vehicle. The city is plunged into chaos as people desperately attempt to escape from the rampaging beasts, but their efforts prove futile. Bill parks his bus beside Kane's apartment, and he, along with Gibbs, fights off the ragged while Cy and Kane head into the building. Kanan catches sight of Indy, making it safely into Kane's apartment, but upon entering, they discover the babysitter lying lifeless on the floor. However, when Kane calls out to her, they realize she's alive, and she emerges from a closet with his daughter, ready to escape. The ragged have ascended the stairs, blocking their way. C sees only one escape route and, in a daring move, scoops up Indy and jumps off the balcony, landing on the bus below. Kanan is left with no other choice but to follow C's lead and leap onto the bus. While Kanan is receiving Indy, Bill gets tragically shot by someone attempting to eliminate the ragged, and he succumbs to his wounds. Amid a barrage of rockets closing in on them, Jeep, without time for mourning her lover Bill, drives the group away from the city. Their escape takes them out of the city, but they now have only 30 minutes to reach the bunker. Kane directs them to the location, and Gibbs accelerates as they draw near. With a mere 5 minutes left, the crew is spotted by an enemy jet. General Line X monitors them through the jet's camera and orders them to be stopped. Just as the crew is about to reach the bunker, the jet positions itself in front of them and opens fire, raining down bullets upon them. After the assault, the jet departs, leaving the Jeep in ruins. Sarah is still alive, but when she turns to check on Kane, she discovers that he's dead. However, Indy is still alive. She grabs Indy and makes a run for the bunker. They make it through the first door of the bunker, but as they descend the ladder, C is incapacitated by a ragged and gets infected. In a desperate move, C shoots and kills the ragged to protect Indy. In the nick of time, Cy and Indy manage to reach the bunker just 5 seconds before the planet is destroyed. Inside, Cy begins to undergo a transformation, and he asks Indy to fetch him scissors, but she realizes he intends to take his own life and vehemently refuses, emphasizing that she can't face this ordeal alone. Sarah attempts to reason with Cy, hugging him and reminding him of his promise to protect Indy, all while his life flashes before his eyes. As he recalls everything, his consciousness fades to black. Several weeks later, Exor sends researchers to explore the planet and assess if there are any survivors. The researchers discover the bunker and spot Indy from a distance. They attempt to communicate with her, but Cy, now a ragged, kills one of them and captures the other. Indy approaches the researcher and inquires about what Exor has reported to the world. The woman explains that Exor has claimed the prisoners blew up the nuclear reactor in Indy, forcing her to cooperate or risk her own life. Reluctantly, the woman agrees to take them back to the ship, which is heading to Earth. The movie concludes as the researchers start their ship and head back to the Exor fleet. Thanks for watching, guys.